which is, how do they do that? That comes down to cultural hegemony, which we get from Antonio Gramsci. Gramsci was a leftist operating in the early 1900s. He was a very early critic of the Soviet Union from the left, saying that they were not in fact a socialist society, that they were a state capitalist society, and this this critique was coming alongside their founding, right? So it's not a new thing. But capitalism is not just an economic system. It's now a whole type of society and culture, and it dominates politics. And Adorno and Horkheimer, another couple of writers that write about this in the culture industry, right? One of my favorite, it's important to understand Marxism is not one person's work. It started and ended there. Right? Marxism is a methodology that's been adopted, and it's like socialism is a process, and it's grown and it's evolved over time. And so one of my favorite aspects of this growth, where Marx building on Hegel and Feuerbach and other thinkers before him, put out his foundational works, but it didn't stop there, right? We just talked about Gramsci and cultural hegemony. When Marx was forming his ideas, and you even saw Marx's ideas change over time as the world around him changed, because he really was there in a pivotal point of the growth of capitalism. But at his time, there were different German states, right? England and Italy had distinct cultures, the totality of capitalism and the state merging wasn't real yet. Gramsci really started to identify that, right? In the 1920s. Capitalism had such great control and domination over culture that it's convinced many of the working class that it's natural, like we said, and the normal order of things, rather than seeing it as a recent development in human history, right? So Marx couldn't see that merger. He couldn't see that capitalism and the state unifying into that totality. Gramsci started to see that, right? And then you get into the post-war period with Adorno and Horkheimer, and they're writing about the culture industry, and now capitalism is creating culture, and it's a reifying system. And then you get Guy Debord coming in after that and talking about the society of the spectacle and the myth and the bauble with it, in which we've lived, that leads us to believe that capitalism is natural and normal. And then it explodes, right? Then we've got like Angela Davis adding racial justice in, and we've got Julia Kristeva adding in psychoanalysis, and it just boom, 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 because it's not something that ended when Marx passed, right? Or when not even Marx passed. Sorry. Marx passing didn't even stop the works with Marx's name, right? He died before he finished Capital, and Engels finished it. But we really saw this explosion. And so that's really important. And socialists need to first teach history and socialist analysis to the public. We need to develop a working class culture that's critical of capitalism before systematic change can happen. And when we look at our culture, we can see that how needed that is. Unfortunately, the left in the United States and the West has largely failed at that.